Hi there, this is Chris, Chap in the Cap, Motor Legends. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a new helmet from the German brand Schuberth. It's a helmet called the J2. Now, whether you want to call this an open face helmet or a cruiser helmet, there is a little bit of a difference with this helmet. It's got a removable chin bar. Anyway, let's get on with it. And don't forget, please, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. Here at Motor Legends, we are not huge fans of open face helmets. Haven't quite reached a position as a company where we refuse to sell them because some people know and accept the risks. But if you come to the shop, we will usually try and dissuade you. Now, in recent years, the only open face helmet we've offered is the Shoei J2. It is in just about every respect the best open face on the market. But we would always, as a point of principle, point people towards the Shoei X0, which is in essence the J2 with a moulded chin bar. Now, the reason for our ambivalence comes out of an accident I was involved in a couple of years ago. I was hit from behind at low speed and was thrown over the front of the bike. As ever, when these things happen, you don't remember much, but I walked away intact, nothing more than a few bruises. What became clear, though, was that I had slid down the road on my face. The whole front of the helmet, the chin bar and visor in particular, were quite badly scraped and scuffed up. But what we realised was that had I been wearing an open face helmet, I could have done a fair amount of damage. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I'm imagining some plastic surgery, painful skin grafts, drinking through a straw and so on. Now, here at Motor Legends, we take our job here seriously. Yes, we understand that motorcyclists can be concerned about how they look, and obviously staying cool, staying dry and staying warm on the bike are vital when it comes to riding safely. But at the end of the day, we sell protective wear, and so we do not like to be involved with gear that doesn't perform its primary function. And of course, there's no item of protective wear that potentially is more important than a helmet. Now, as I've said, we don't point blank refuse to sell open face helmets, although if you are new to biking or you come to the shop, you're a youngster, sometimes we will do. But all of this means that getting excited about Schuberth's new J2 doesn't come easy. So this obviously is the Schuberth J2. Now, lots of helmet manufacturers produce helmets like the J2. Basically, it's an open face helmet with a large full height lift up visor. I believe that they are known in some circles as cruiser helmets, and indeed they do seem popular with the Harley crowd. I don't know whether Harley riders like them because they think they don't ride fast enough to have an accident, or because an open face helmet better conjures up that easy rider look. But the best explanation that I've been given is that if you're riding a bike with a big screen, a helmet that allows you to get better access to the oncoming cooler air is often very welcome. And that seems to make a lot of sense to us. Now, we already do the J-Cruise helmet from Shoei, which is very much like this, and that's probably as good as one of this type of helmet gets, especially as you can use PFS to get it to fit perfectly. But I think many manufacturers, most manufacturers, have a helmet like this in their range. But if this is the style of helmet that you have decided you want to ride in, then the J2 has a little trick up its sleeve that none of the other similar helmets have. And I have to say that I think it gives the J2 a benefit over any other cruiser style helmet on the market. And that is, it has a removable chin bar. Now, I'm not quite sure why you'd ever want to remove this chin bar. That's a personal choice, I suppose. But the chin bar in no way impedes your view or detracts from the helmet's ability to flow air. It's so discreet as to be almost invisible when the screen is lowered. Yet, if you have an accident, the chin bar will serve to provide a degree of protection to your chin and face. But here's the thing. Schuberth tells us that in its testing, the strength of the chin bar would have allowed the helmet to have been classified as a full face helmet, but for one thing. The chin bar does not meet the required standard, the minimum required standard in terms of its height or depth. And that's a shame because it would have increased confidence in the J2 if Schuberth had been able to claim that the helmet was both P and J rated. P rated is the rating for a full face helmet, J is the rating for an open face helmet. But as it is, that's not the case. The J2 is only rated as an open face helmet. In fact, on a technical level, it might be frowned upon for us to even be suggesting that the J2 is any more protective than an open face helmet. And that's because the authorities do not like it when manufacturers and retailers make claims about safety and protection that cannot be totally justified. But Given what Schuberth tells us about the strength of the chin bar, and we believe what they've told us, then it makes sense to us to suggest that the J2 is going to provide a greater degree of protection in an accident than a similar helmet without a chin bar. Now, of course, I cannot point to independent testing to prove this, but to us, it just seems like an undeniable truth. What we don't know, and what we will never know, is whether Schuberth messed up and only realised that the helmet would not meet the P standard when it was too late to turn back and start again, or whether they always took the view that a taller chin bar would somehow change the essence of the J2 as a cruiser helmet. We'd like to think, of course, that it was the latter, and certainly the only other helmet in the market with a removable chin bar that we know of is the Nolan N70, and indeed that does end up looking more like a full face helmet than an open face helmet or a cruiser helmet. Anyway, we will never know the answer to that question, as I've suggested. So let's now take a deeper dive into the J2. Schuberth tells us that this helmet has not one single part in common with its predecessor, and I have to say that doesn't really surprise us because the J1, its predecessor, had gone out of production before we even got into the motorcycle business. Now the J2 has the same type of shell that is used on all of Schuberth's 2206 helmets. Constructed using their patented direct fibre precision technology that sees carbon fibre being used or woven in with other organic fibres, Schuberth talks about how this system delivers a lightweight shell that achieves remarkable shock absorption values. Now all we can say is that in size large, the J2 is actually 100 grams heavier than the J-Cruise. Insofar as energy absorption is concerned, all we know is that the helmet passes 2206. Schuberth tells us no more than that. The helmet features the anti-roll-off system known as AROS that has been a feature of all Schuberth's helmets for many years. And basically what that system does, it takes straps that run from the chin strap, they are then riveted into the back of the shell, and that secures the helmet, it stops the helmet ever coming off. Now intuitively the system seems to make sense and to add an additional element of reassurance that your helmet will never come off in an accident. But interestingly, no other manufacturer, even those competing in MotoGP, have tried to emulate it. The downside with the system is that it can sometimes impact on the adjustability of the chin strap. Now the chin bar we have discussed. Schuberth has no qualms about suggesting that this is an additional protective feature, so I suppose that we cannot really be in trouble for suggesting the same, as long as you accept that the J2 is still going to be less protective than a full face helmet. Now we really like the way that the chin bar affixes into the helmet. It is easy to remove and it really doesn't impair your view. I sold a Shoei J-Cruise to a lady recently because she reckoned it was the only helmet that would allow her to read the instruments on the tank of her Harley. And in all honesty, I don't think that the chin bar on the J2 would have got in her way. Now it's natural, of course, for manufacturers to talk things up. And in their launch video, the company's management was at pains to tell the world how, with their wind tunnel testing, they had managed to achieve an 88 decibel rating at 100 kilometers an hour on a naked bike with the J2. And they claim that that makes this helmet quieter than any other similar helmet on the market. Although we kind of take the view that the head form that Schuberth uses in its testing may have a bearing on that result. Anyway, here at Motor Legends, we make it clear to anybody who wants any kind of open face helmet that they will have to accept higher noise levels. Although we do accept that a helmet, an open face helmet with a full length visor, will be quieter than a pure jet helmet. Now, Schuberth has endowed the J2 with a much tighter neck roll than you find in most open face helmets. That's the same kind of neck roll you'll find in the C5 and indeed pretty much all of their other helmets. And that is going to help, undoubtedly. But the very large space between the bottom edge of the visor and the cheek pads is going to be a weak point. Air is going to enter the helmet here, and when that air reaches the ears, that translates as noise. The company also talks about the rigid turbulators that run along the top of the visor, and these are meant to disturb the wind to create turbulence as the wind hits the helmet, and they should once again to make the J2 quieter. But we should not get carried away. Schuberth had claimed that the J2 is quieter than its competitors, and that might well be the case. But the J2, I'm afraid, is still going to be a noisy helmet. Let's compare Schuberth's 88 decibel rating for the J2 with the 85 decibels for the C5, for example. Now, 3 decibels, it's got to admit, it doesn't sound much, but Decibels are measured on what's called a logarithmic scale. So a 3 decibel increase actually indicates a doubling in sound intensity, meaning that the safe exposure time is actually halved. It's claimed that exposure to sounds above 85 decibels can lead to hearing loss. At 85 decibels, it's suggested that the safe exposure time is 8 hours. At 88 decibels, that's down to 4 hours. In terms of understanding what this actually means, 85 decibels is equivalent to a noisy restaurant, a food blender, or heavy traffic. 88 decibels, by contrast, is what you would experience if you were driving a forklift truck. Now, I'm not saying that Schuberth has not done a great job here. They probably have. But our aim with these reviews is to try to separate the wheat from the chaff. And whilst 88 decibels may be great for an open face helmet, it still, in our view, constitutes a noisy helmet. And it certainly suggests that if you're going to be wearing the J2, you should invest in a set of moulded earplugs. There is, however, one thing that mitigates in the J2's favour in this regard, and that is that if, as suggested, the J2 will often be worn by riders of cruiser-style bikes with large screens, noise may indeed be less of an issue. It's widely accepted that the mark of a premium helmet brand is its adoption of 3 shell sizes. It means more expensive manufacturing, but that's what you get with every Shoei, that's what you get with every Harley. And with 3 shell sizes, you have a much better chance of getting that perfect fit. And also, you reduce those instances where a helmet can look like an oversized bowling ball on your head. Now, like all Schuberths and all Sharks, the J2 only comes in 2 shell sizes. In their launch presentation, Schuberth spoke proudly about how they were able to get their size large into the smaller of those 2 shell sizes. But therein, I'm afraid, lies a problem, because that's exactly where we often have a problem when it comes to the fitting of a Schuberth here in the shop. Now, if somebody measures bang on 59, which is the upper limit of a Schuberth large size, if that customer finds that the helmet is a tad too tight, front to back, we might try to put them into an extra large, but that helmet will nearly always be massively large, rotatable like a kitchen pail. And it's because of that that here in the shop, many people who might prefer a Schuberth end up walking out with a Shoei. We figure that the issue here obviously is those 2 shell sizes. And so if Schuberth aspires to being a truly premium brand, this won't happen, I'm afraid, until the company moves to offering 3 shell sizes. Now, don't misunderstand me. The J2 will fit a lot of people very well. All the inner surfaces feel very plush. This is a comfortable helmet. And if your head fits the J2, this will be a very nice helmet to ride in. To increase the chance of getting the J2 to fit even better, we can use all of the same headliners and cheek pads that we can fit into a C5. Now, Schuberth's system for custom fitting is not without its merits, as to an extent it allows the internal head shape to be adjusted in terms of shape, not just made larger or smaller. You can also use those pads to raise and lower the helmet. But in our view, Schuberth has not risen to the challenge of going head to head with Shoei. See what I did there? And that's because Schuberth's pads only work on 3 out of the 6 sizes of helmet. Those sizes are medium, large and extra large. Now, this will have been done because the accountants will have worked out that 80% of their sales come from just 3 shell sizes. That's the same across all helmet brands, I'm imagining. And of course, that's fair enough. But it's going to be very disappointing if you've got a very large head or a very small head. The other issue is the cost of these pads. On a Shoei or an Harley, on a Shark even, there's an exchange scheme, so customers pay nothing. But Schuberth has decreed that motorcyclists need to pay for these pads. So you'll end up paying something like, I don't know, £37 for a pack of head pads. And often you'll need to split 2 different packs to get the best fit. Now, personally, here at Motor Legends, we do not like the idea of charging customers extra to get an already expensive helmet to fit properly. So if you visit us here in Guildford, we will not charge for those pads. And as I've suggested, that could save you up to some £75. The cheek pads in the helmet are also interchangeable, but the J2 comes fitted with extra thick 32mm pads, so it's unlikely that you'll ever need any of the other pads that Schuberth supplies all of which are 25mm and below. And that's of course because rarely will you want to make a helmet like this looser. So what else is there that you need to know about the J2? Well, Schuberth's visors are normally Class 1 optical quality. In the case of the J2, Schuberth doesn't confirm this, and perhaps because this is such a large visor, they were unable to meet that standard. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that we update the website to confirm whether or not it is a Class 1 optical quality. Now, what you don't get for the J2 is a pin lock insert, but that's because you'll very rarely need one in a helmet where the oncoming air can so easily reduce the temperature behind the visor. All you have to do is incline your head backwards for half a second and any misting will simply clear. The visor is also, by the way, very easy to remove and replace. Of course, you get the same drop-down sun visor that you get in all Schuberth helmets. There's a large two-position vent here on the brow. Obviously, there's no equivalent chin vent. The brow vent will send air running through the EPS to cool the head down, and this air then exits through the back of the neck roll. The neck strap is adjustable by means of a micrometric clasp. The strap itself is adjustable from both sides. We're recording this video at the very end of March 2025, so I am perhaps jumping the gun a little, but what I want to do now is tell you about the comms units that are available for the J2 today and what's coming shortly down the road. The comms units that I'm going to be talking about will obviously also fit into any Schuberth helmet. Now, the unit that's available today, it's been around for a while, it's called the SC2. It's based on the Sena 50S system, and like all of Schuberth's comms, it's about as plug and play as it gets, by which I mean that all of the wiring and the HD speakers are installed already. You do need to connect one wire at the back of the helmet, but I've got to say it's pretty straightforward. It's a mesh and Bluetooth system, but at $339.99, it's expensive for those who want to talk to perhaps just one on a bike or to a pillion rider, or for those who just want access to the phone, sat-nav or music. Although of course you will save 20% VAT on the price of the comms if you buy a helmet at the same time as you buy the comms. Now, due the second quarter of 25 is a cheaper version of the SC2 based on the 10S. It's going to be called the SC2 Standard. It's Bluetooth only. Now, for those not looking to converse with an entire football team whilst on the move, this might be the more sensible option. The price of this system is $239.99. Again, you can save the 20% VAT if you buy the comms at the same time as you buy the helmet. But for many, the most exciting news is that Schuberth will soon be coming out with a unit that fixes to the helmet in the same integrated way, but it is powered by Cardo. This is going to be very welcome tidings to the hordes who swear that Cardo is better. The unit is based on Cardo's top-of-the-line PackTalk Edge system. The price is the same $339.99 as the SC2 unit. And so you're just going to have to work out which system is going to work best for you. For lots of people, I suspect the new standard system will be more than enough. But with the other units, you are to a degree potentially engaging in some future-proofing. Either way, you're going to have to decide whether you're going to be riding with Sena people or with Cardo people. Although with Schuberth now, you can at least change the unit to allow you to ride with different groups. But whatever you've read on the internet, Cardo will not talk with Sena. Not unless you're one of those complete anoraks who spends the time in the shed talking with other like-minded individuals. What you can do, however, now is use the Wave app, which will allow you to talk to anybody. Now, you could potentially mount a different independent unit onto the side of the J2, but I think it would be a tricky job for various reasons, and the end result, I fear, would be somewhat messy. You would also instantly lose one of the advantages of an integrated comms, namely that the helmet has been homologated. When you stick something on the side of a helmet, you lose that. And of course, you will also make the helmet noisier if you graft a carbuncle onto the side of the shell. Inevitably, once this video goes out, somebody from Schuberth will contact us to tell us that we've been unfair about their latest helmet. Well, we don't think we have been, but we do like to drill down a little in order to fight through the hyperbole, the technical mumbo-jumbo, and those claims that, whilst technically correct, might be deemed misleading. Now, all the manufacturers talk their gear up, of course they do, understandably so, but we like to bring things down to terra firma. Nonetheless, we really like the J2. We think it's potentially a great helmet, and whether or not the chin bar meets the full demands of a full face chin bar under 2206, it must be the case that the J2 has got to be safer to ride in than any other cruiser style helmet out there. The helmet seems to us to be well built, and being based on the now proven C5, I think we can say with some confidence that everything should work the way it should and that bits shouldn't fall off. Now, the Schuberth 2 shell sizes will potentially impact upon comfort, and of course the J2 gets left in the wake of the Shoei J-Cruise when one takes into account the Japanese company's personal fitting system. However, when it comes to comms, the German maker has stolen a march on Shoei with both a cheaper option and a Cardo one. Finally, let's touch on pricing, because the J2 is not cheap, and most certainly it's not if you look at it as just an open face helmet. But actually, what Schuberth has managed to do is undercut Shoei to a point where there's a reasonable amount of clear blue water between the two brands. The Shoei J-Cruise in a plain or a graphic is consistently about £120 more expensive than the Schuberth. Now, in many ways one could contend that the Shoei is made to a higher standard, but one cannot ignore the fact that in an accident the J2 will offer more protection than the J-Cruise, and who can say how much that's worth? Now, from my perspective, but I admit, horribly biased, I would always come back to whether most people would actually be better off with a flip lid helmet. A helmet like Schuberth's own C5 or of course the Shoei Neotech 3. For not much more money, you would have a helmet that's a lot more protective. A helmet that would still allow you to get lots of air to the face when required. A helmet that on longer journeys is going to do much less damage to your ears. But that is to ignore considerations of style and looks. And some people just like the way that helmets like the J2 look, in the same way that some people just don't like the way that flips look. Some like the field of vision that you get with a helmet like the J2. Some like the airflow. And all of those things, I suppose, we can understand. Finally, don't forget that if you want a J2, we are probably the only people who can fit it properly, by which I mean we're the only people to carry all of the pads all of the time. Oh, and one other thing, we don't charge for them. Well, I hope you found that interesting. If you want to see more Schuberth helmets or just more helmets, then visit the website motolegends.com. If you want to learn more about the J2 in particular, then if you click on one of the links on the screen, sometimes they're up there, sometimes they're down there, that will take you directly to the relevant page on the website. Now, when you're there, you can check out the spec of the helmet in a little bit more detail. You can take availability, and obviously if you want to buy the helmet, you can do that there and then. Now, when you buy from us, we try to make the process simple, straightforward, and risk-free as we possibly can. There is no delivery charge on any item of protective wear that you buy. Returns are totally free, and what's more, we give you a full 12 months in which to decide whether you do want to return something. Now, we have the best price promise in the business. John Lewis was rightly famed for its never knowingly undersold price promise, but actually we go one stage better. If you can find any of our competitors selling anything that we sell at a price that is below ours, we will beat that price by a full 10%. Now, there are a few terms and conditions connected with what we call a price beat. Nothing particularly onerous, I assure you, but if you are going to attempt to price beat us, I suggest you go over to the website and check out what those terms and conditions are. If in the future you'd like to see bulletins from us about new products, then if you go to the website, at the top of the page there's a piece of script that says newsletter sign up. Click on there, within seconds you'll be in business. In future you'll receive our email bulletins. If, however, you would prefer to get your information videographically, that is to say in this form, we'd be simply delighted if you wanted to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can do that by clicking on the button below. Finally, I'd like to make mention of our fabulous shop here. We are based about a mile from the centre of Guildford, a mile from the railway station. And as I've suggested, the shop has a small footprint, but it's attached to our warehouse where we have £4 million, more than £4 million worth of merchandise arranged over 3 floors. And technically that makes this the second largest motorcycle apparel shop in the country. But we'd like to think of ourselves as more than just the amount of merchandise we have here in the building. We're all about service, we're all about personal fitting. If you want to check us out, visit Trustpilot. We have the highest 5-star ranking in the business. And when you come to see us, we'll only serve you, or serve you only, the finest illy coffee, or we'll serve you proper Yorkshire tea in a proper teapot. And if you're lucky, who knows, you might even get to sample one of our delicious motorcycle-shaped shortbread biscuits. Anyway, this has been Chris. I hope to talk to you again soon.